Civilization or Barbarism, an Authentic Anthropology by Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. As we have already seen, it would then be necessary to find a hierarchical difference among the races, particularly between black and white, at the level of the brain in general and the anterior part of the brain in particular. But this is not going to happen in the foreseeable future. And here again, the facts are not simply false, they are cited only in order to mislead the uninitiated. From the arrangement and degree of complexity of the interneuronal connections of the frontal lobe, one can isolate, for instance, the primitive characteristics of the Australian Aborigines and the pedomorphism of the Sanites. Corson, page 113. This bit of pure fiction is simply a joke in a very bad taste, since it is asserted at the expense of peoples whose lands were confiscated and who were presumably condemned to disappear, like fossilized beings. Any difference at the level of the brain can have only an individual, but never a racial significance. To write, then, on the basis of a spacious and measurements of hand-picked types, that there is such and such specific difference in weight or morphology, convolutions among races, particularly between black and white, smacks of scientific fraud. These measurements would make sense only if they were developed by a mixed group of scholars, white, black, yellow, of equal competence, duly collecting their specimens from equally educated racial groups enjoying comparable social status. Otherwise, take a homogeneous team of blacks and yellows working on white subjects, and all the results published in Race et Intelligence would be either reversed or at least called into question. Is it not rash to study the anatomy of a degenerate alcoholic black Kenyan and conclude from it that blacks are inferior, as was done by Dr. Vint of the Medical Research Laboratory of Nairobi? Indeed, most of the brains that Dr. Vint, examined came from autopsies performed on diseased corpses, particularly victims of cirrhosis. Only through manipulations of this type was it possible to assemble the fictive differences cited in Race et Intelligence, for what Westerner researchers has access to healthy brains of persons of other races. Consistent with the racial character of the team making the investigation, the superior race comes out Nordic, German, Anglo-Saxon, or Celtic. Thus, Brigham's 1923 investigation of 2 million Americans placed at the top of the intelligence test scores those of English origin, red, WASP, to the 67th, with an average of 14.87, than those from Scotland, the Netherlands, Germany, Denmark, etc. Mediterraneans and Slavs were at the bottom of the list, while the French were not even mentioned, page 160. And we know that he still unrepealed American Immigration Act sharply limits immigration of Southern Europeans to the United States. So anonymous authors of Race et Intelligence would find it very difficult to immigrate to the United States, for they know that they have no place in the German Valhalla, where they are considered to be descendants of the prehistoric Negroids who settled in the Midi, southern region of France. Thus, the term Nordic, used by the authors, is a mere euphemism which does not fully convey the sense of Germanic superiority before which Celtism appears only as a paltry reaction born of the inferiority complex. I will stop right there. This is Civilization or Barbarism, and we'll pick back up. I'm Uriel Riley. Thank you.